Hey guys, Daniel today. Yeah, so today this video going to do a reaction to some dude the MCU and the Venus Golden Face Part 3, which final days of the Venus Golden Saga. Yeah, but that doesn't mean say the Venus Saga. It's not Venus Saga. It's the Venus Golden Saga. Yeah. So right now we're going to do short reaction. Oops.
We're finally here. This will be part 3 in the Phase 6 in What If Marvel still had the rights to all of their characters. Let's begin. Kicking off this part will be Blade 2. And this movie will essentially follow the events of the blip, where we would actually see Blade traverse through the half-destroyed population. And the villain I'd have for this movie would be Mephisto. So we will essentially see Blade travel to hell. And although the events of the snap would be present in this movie, I'd rather have this film be its own thing. But the post-credit scene would reveal that Mephisto is in consorts with Thanos, as when Blade thinks that he has seemingly defeated him, we would see that Mephisto is still about, and he is acting as sort of an advisor for Thanos, similar to the comics. Now, the next movie will be The Eternals, and this movie would take place way in the past. And here, we would actually see a younger version of Thanos in this film. So it'll sort of be a setup to the finale, which would be Infinity Gauntlet Part 2. So it would still feature the same cast of characters, Icarus, Cersei, and these guys. But Black Knight would also be featured in this film as well. And this movie will essentially explain the cosmic war of the MCU. So basically explaining Thanos' backstory and how he came to be the way he is, while also focusing on each Eternal as well in a more of a steady pace, so it doesn't feel as rushed as the original movie did. The main villains will still be the Deviants, and I'd still have Icarus turn evil by the end of the film. And now, the final movie of Phase 6 will be Infinity Part 2.
Part 2.
We open up on the planet known as Titan, where we would see the remaining survivors of the snap still on the planet, and due to their ship being destroyed from their battle with Thanos, they are unable to get off the planet. Adam Warlock gives the idea of just flying everyone out of the planet, but Rocket Raccoon would shut it down, saying how none of them could breathe in space, and so the heroes are left waiting if they would ever be able to get off of the planet. And months would go by, with the fleeting hope that help may never arrive. That would be until one day a stray ship would land on the destroyed planet, catching the attention of Johnny Storm, who alerts the others. Each of them has been managing to survive thanks to the scraps and insects that Titan provides, along with coincidentally a limited water supply. Each of the heroes would confront the ship, and it would open to reveal Nebula, who has snuck on one of Thanos' ships and has diverged to his last known location, which would be Titan. But what she didn't expect to find were the heroes standing in front of her. But nevertheless, they could provide some use to her, and so the heroes would board the ship and finally manage to get out of the planet Titan. And after a while, they finally managed to land back on Earth, in which Johnny Storm would hastily fly up into the air and diverge to the Baxter building to check if his sister is alright, while the rest would head to Avengers compound. And when they head inside, they are met by a surprising visitor, Dr. Doom. Back to Johnny Storm, we would see him start to approach the Baxter building as he would land on the observation deck of the building and head inside. And the place seems to be devoid of any kind of life or happiness, which creeps Johnny out a bit, and he would explore the building until he manages to find an open door, in which he would slowly open it to see his sister curled up in a ball. Johnny would let out a huge sigh in relief as At least one of his family managed to survive, and he would run towards Susan and embrace her in a hug. But he would pull back, realizing something wrong with Susan as he would look her in the eyes to see them. And it would appear as if Sue Storm, even though she was alive physically, she appears to quite literally be dead inside. And she would look towards Johnny before saying, "The baby? I lost the baby."
Yeah.
Johnny would understand immediately, and he would pull his sister into a tighter hug. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Back in Avengers HQ, we would see the Avengers be confronted by Doctor Doom, who each of them would immediately put on their battle stances. Even the Guardians, even though they have no idea who Doom is, they see how tense the Avengers get, and they start getting defensive themselves. But before a punch could be thrown, Spider-Man would stand in the middle between Doom and the other heroes, and he would hold his hands up. Whoa, guys, take it easy." "What's the meaning of this, Spider-Man?" Captain America would ask, and Spider-Man would simply say, "I know how this looks, but trust me, Doom isn't here to hurt anyone." Thor would also walk into the room. "I concur with the man, Spider. This man is of no harm to us." And with that, Thor would then embrace his friends as he has not seen them in months. After everything gets settled down, Iron Man would address the elephant in the room. "So why are you here then, Doom? I know this might appear of a shock to you, but you simple-minded Americans are the only ones who are affected by the deeds of that madman. Almost every one of my people in Latveria were slain because of your failure. So naturally, I demand retribution. So while you were out wallowing in your own self-pity in space, I was down here creating the solution to our problem. And after many months, it is finally ready." Doom would step to the side as he would reveal the same type of machine that was in Avengers Endgame, but instead of using the quantum realm in order to help time travel, it will instead be the elements of the negative zone. And as much as I would love to take all of the credit, this was not only of my doing. As Doom says this, another figure would walk into the room, which would reveal to be Namor. "The Atlantean King has graciously supplied me with the best resources in order to help complete this machine." Namor would then speak. "Similar to Doom, my people were also slain by that tyrant, so I will not rest until he is dead at my feet." Spider-Man would then turn to the Avengers. "You guys were gone for a really long time. A lot has changed, and if we can't adapt to these changes, then we might as well be failing everyone a second time." Captain America would look hesitantly before he would turn back to Doom. "So, when do we start?" Doom would look annoyed. "Right now, you fool, did you not hear me? The machine is ready." Tony would then exit the room. "Alright, but before we go, I need to call in Johnny first. We need everyone on board." We would also see Wolverine walk into the room, and he would look around, sensing the animosity. "Welcome back, Bubs." In space, see Thanos using the Space Stone in order to travel through the cosmos, as he has a specific destination in mind. By the way, in this version, Thanos doesn't destroy the Infinity Stones because I want to portray him as more of a sadistic, power-hungry egomaniac in this version of the MCU, similar to how he is in the comics. So, someone with those type of traits wouldn't really destroy the ultimate power that's been given to them, so he'll still keep the stones around. And the Avengers are planning to use time travel as they know that they have no shot in trying to recapture the Infinity Gauntlet from Thanos as he has grown too powerful. So right now their best chance is just to travel back in time and retrieve the stones in order to undo anything that Thanos has done, and hopefully use those same stones to combat Thanos. And now, Thanos has finally arrived to his destination, Vormir, and wish now that he has completed his goal. he wishes to court his one and true soulmate, Death. And as he traverses through the planet trying to look for her, he catches something that confuses him, and he would look back to see a most horrific sight. Okay, so the first guy, he has an idea. He says, "Hey, I got this flashlight with me. I'll shine it across the gap between the buildings and you can walk across the beam to join me." But the second guy says, "What do you think I am, crazy?" We would see the incarnation of Death crack a small smile as she appears to be enjoying the red and black man's company. Thanos would interrupt. "Who the hell are you?" Deadpool would give a salute in a more comical way. "The miracle from mouth at your service, Mr. Thanos. Now, unless you wish to have your bowels physically removed, stand aside, vermin." "Thanos, if you must know, this is Wade Wilson, also known as Deadpool. He is my lover." Thanos would take a couple of seconds to process that sentence. "What?" as his anger grows. "Yeah, it's really crazy how we met. You see, ever since my ex Vanessa dumped me, I've been real depressed. So I've tried killing myself several times, but throughout the times that I had, I met Death, and we've headed off ever since." Thanos would argue, "I have the most powerful artifacts any mortal can possess, and yet you choose this bumbling fool over me." "I have no interest in you, Thanos. You have already claimed the Soul Stone, caused a monumental imbalance across the cosmos, and yet you still expect me to court you? You are a fool." Thanos would start to grow angry, but he quickly calms himself down, as he knows better than to mess with the literal incarnation of Death. So begrudgingly, he teleports away using the Space Stone. By the way, did I ever tell you the time that some mom brought me to her kid's 9th birthday party because she thought I was Spider-Man? Death would be intrigued. "No. Can you tell me this story? And who is Spider-Man?" We would see Thanos teleporting back to his planet, where he is seen contemplating as a fiery inferno would manifest beside him before ultimately culminating in Mephisto, who now walks alongside Thanos. "Oh, cheer up, big guy. So what? One loss and now you throw in the towel? Come on, there are plenty of stars in the cosmos, if you know what I mean." Thanos would look annoyingly at Mephisto. "Watch your tongue, demon. Don't forget, this is only a temporary alliance." But before Mephisto can say anything else, something catches Thanos' attention, and he sees that each and every one of his men have been knocked out or subdued, and he looks around to see who the invader might be before his eyes would look up to see the one person he despises most in the entire galaxy. "Hey, big bro, you miss me?" the figure says before descending down to Thanos' level. This is Eros, otherwise known as Star Fox, the younger brother of Thanos. "I told you I'd kill you if you ever showed your face around me again," Thanos bellows. Star Fox laughs. "You couldn't kill me in your wettest dreams, Thanos." Thanos grimaces. "I wouldn't be too sure about that," as he clenches his fist ready to strike at Star Fox before Star Fox would open his hands in admittance. All right, you called my bluff. You really have gotten stronger, haven't you? Especially with that little oven mitt you got there," Star Fox says as he points to the Infinity Gauntlet. "Why have you come here? To grovel?" Star Fox shakes his head. "Well, no. I've actually came here to tell you something. You see, ever since that little stunt you pulled, with eliminating half of the life of the universe, yeah, let's just say there are some people who weren't very happy about that." Well, that would be an understatement. They were quite furious. I could care less about what a bunch of vermin think. But these aren't really vermin. These are the heavy hitters, like Galactus, the Beyonder, Eternity, etc., etc. In fact, they've actually been having a couple meetings with each other, trying to find the best solution to, deal with you. And so they ultimately set out the idea to gather their strongest champions in order to hunt you down, and kill you. Thanos scoffs. Are they so pitiful they cannot do it themselves? Well, they can, but they don't really want to get off their thrones just yet, so they're sending other people out to do it. Thanos clenches his fists even tighter. So I take it you are one of these assassins? Oh no, I would never kill my big brother. What kind of person do you think I am? But I did come to warn you. Star Fox would then float up in the air preparing to leave, but before that, he would turn around and face his older brother. Your actions have really caused a shift in the universe, Thanos, and I pray that you'll be ready when the storm hits you hard. And with that, Star Fox would dissipate, leaving Thanos and Mephisto standing there, pondering about what he just said. We cut back to Earth, where we would see both the Human Torch and Invisible Woman now entering into Avengers compound, hearing about the plan from Iron Man, as well as being informed that Doom was the one who has built the device necessary to help travel back in time, which would cause a reasonable reaction for the two, as they know better than anyone that Doom isn't to be trusted, but with the state of how things are right now, they don't really have a choice rather than to work with Doom in order to solve this crisis. But when they both enter the room, they would see Doom, and Doom would look back at the pair. Well, if it isn't the Storm siblings, if it's only the two of you here, then I take it that Grimm and Richards were claimed the Infinity Stones. Well, out of all the terrible things that has happened, at least there could be some semblance of good news. I would say that it's quite fortunate that Richards was killed. That way I won't have to deal with his presence. Invisible Woman would snap in anger as she would create a force around Doom's body, dismantling his armor and ultimately crushing him in several ways. But this would strangely not draw blood, but instead mechanical parts, as it would reveal to only be a Doom bot, while the real Dr. Doom would be walking into the room. As I expected, temperamental and quick to anger. You must think I'm a fool to provoke you, Susan. Invisible Woman was about to strike Doom again, but she would ultimately be stopped by Johnny, who stands in front of her, reminding her of why they're here in the first place, in order to help save their family, and reluctantly, Susan would drop her hands, which would ultimately be an invitation to Namor, who starts to approach her. It is good to see you again, Sue. Johnny would slam Namor against the wall. Back off, fish face. I'm not in the mood for your bullshit this time, and the last thing I need is for you hitting on my sister. Namor would sock Johnny across the face to get him off him, and both of them would be about to attack each other. That would be until a man would stand in front of each of them, revealing the Daywalker known as Blade. Are you ladies done now? We have a universe to save. Johnny would look confused. Who the hell are you? Call me Blade. A couple months ago, he showed up on the Avengers compound front door, and, well, it was history ever since. Dr. Doom would say, all right, is everybody ready? Because we are going to begin now. Vision would also be a part of the team, as, since he isn't made of organic matter, he managed to survive the snap. Iron Man would say, so I guess both Black Ball and Lockjaw got snapped away too, huh? Yes, says Dr. Doom. Now, if you're done yapping, we have a mission to get to. We have to split up in order to get all the Infinity Stones faster and more efficiently. I agree with Doom, so we'll split up in pairs. Me, Iron Man, and Wasp would go back in time to get the Space Stone. Spider-Man, Doctor Doom, and Blade will get the Time Stone. Adam Warlock and Rocket, you'll get the Power Stone. Vision and Nebula would try and get the Mind Stone. Thor, Wolverine, and Namor would go and get the Reality Stone. Torch and Invisible Woman, you'll get the Soul Stone. Is everyone clear on their objectives? Everyone would nod, and the Avengers would stand inside of the time machine, ready to save the world. And that would be until a flash would ignite the machine, and each one of them would disappear. The team of Captain America, Iron Man, Wasp, Doctor Doom, Spider-Man, and Blade would appear front and center in the first battle that the Avengers had with Loki, the Battle of New York, and it is as chaotic as it had been all those years ago. But they appear to just have made it in the battle's aftermath, where Loki has already been defeated and is currently being detained, along with the Space Stone. Alright, me, Wasp, and Iron Man would head to the tower to retrieve the Space Stone. Spider-Man, Doctor Doom, and Blade, you'll head to the location of the Time Stone. Doom would comment, "Yes, I do sense the presence of the Time Stone nearby. Follow me, fools." Spider-Man would lean towards Blade, whispering, "Who the hell does this guy think he is?" Blade would just shrug. "Listen, man, as long as we get the job done, I don't give a shit about attitude." And the three heroes would depart on their way to the Time Stone, whilst the trio of Captain America, Iron Man, and Wasp would head to the tower to retrieve the Space Stone. Adam Warlock and Rocket would arrive at the location of the Power Stone, where it is currently being guarded, and Adam Warlock would proceed to make a move that would be until Rocket would hold him back. "Hold on, you're not gonna want to miss this." And as if on cue, Peter Quill would arrive on the scene, dancing to what appears to be music, and he appears to be evading each of the traps set as Adam Warlock would look on. So this is the time where he retrieved the Space Stone and got chased out by Thanos' minions. Yep. And once he disables all the traps for us, we'll just knock him out and take the Power Stone. Easy peasy. That seems sort of like cheating. Oh yeah, it is. Thor, Wolverine, and Namor would arrive in the home of the Dark Elves, where the Reality Stone is still being held. By the way, since Malekith wasn't the main villain in Thor 2, the Reality Stone would still be in the hands of the Dark Elves. And also, Malekith is still alive in this version since he didn't fight Thor. Wolverine would look on at that depressing place. And I thought Madripoor streets were bad. Namor would scoff. "Alright then, let's get this over with." Wolverine would turn towards Namor. "You don't fool me, bub. You're a mutant, ain't ya? I can smell it right off you. Aside from the smell of rotten fish, of course. You're quite the perceptive one, aren't you? Yes, I am a mutant. Then why not join the X-Men? We can use a guy of your talents." "That merry band of fools? I believe your bold teacher has actually offered me a position, but I decline, seeing as how it would be a waste of my time to be sullied by a bunch of..." Wolverine would extend his claws at Namor. "Don't insult my friends, bub." Thor would stand in between the pair. "Listen, we have a job to get to, and we don't need each other's animosity right now." Thor would look at Namor. "King to king, let's just finish this." Namor would scoff and turn away, and Wolverine would retract his claws, and each of them would travel further into the home of the Dark Elves to retrieve the Reality Stone. Vision and Nebula would appear in South Korea, where the Avengers had one of their altercations with Ultron along with the Masters of Evil in order to retrieve Vision's initial body. And so, both of them would know the mission of retrieving Vision's old body in order to get the Mind Stone. Human Torch and Invisible Woman would appear in the center of the planet known as Vormir, where they're tasked with retrieving the Soul Stone, as both of them would hold each other's hand as they walk through the traverses of the planet. Back in the present time, we would see none other than the Silver Surfer gliding throughout the galaxy, as he appears to be entering into a planet where he would land down and confront the meeting that he was supposed to have with the other beings tasked to destroy Thanos, Gladiator, Quasar, and Beta Ray Bill. I take it all of you are ready? Gladiator would scoff. Why must we be the ones to kill that fool? Why don't the great entities do it themselves? Quasar would argue. You know full well they could do it if they wanted to, but they require our assistance so they won't have to do it themselves. That's the whole point, Gladiator. Gladiator would turn away. Beta Ray Bill would say, I don't care if I was ordered to execute him. I would have gladly done it myself because of the crimes he has committed. Silver Surfer would look at Beta Ray Bill. Well, I guess that leaves no room for argument. Let's go, Annihilators. And each of them would fly off in the pursuit of Thanos. And it would be an instant as they managed to locate Thanos' ship easily, as Silver Surfer would go in first and penetrate the ship, causing massive amounts of explosions. Thanos would be shot as well as his men, who were thrown off by the sudden damage as the ship would begin to plummet towards a nearby planet, creating itself to be a meteorite as it would crash down onto the planet. Supergiant, using her force fields, would be able to save everyone on board, but Thanos didn't need her help as he had the Infinity Stones to help soften his landing as he would step out of the ship, demanding to know who would test him like this. That would be until a rocket would come firing towards him, but it would appear not to be a rocket, but Gladiator, as it would rocket his fist towards Thanos' face, and it would impact, creating a shockwave, sending Thanos flying a dozen miles before he would stop himself. But he would look up, seeing Beta Ray Bill charging a lightning-infused Stormbreaker and crashing down, aiming towards Thanos. Thanos would jump out of the way, but Beta Ray Bill would still hit the ground, creating a massive crater. Thanos would motion to use his Gauntlet, but he is then stopped when he is blasted in the back by Quasar, sending him flying a dozen feet. But he manages to stop himself before being uppercutted into the air by Gladiator. Before being slammed down back into the ground by Beta Ray Bill, Silver Surfer would finish off this combo by blasting his cosmic energy down towards Thanos, who blocks it using his Power Stone, before using his Gauntlet to blast away everyone that was around him, sending each of the Annihilators flying, but it wouldn't do much damage as Gladiator would crash onto Thanos, sending him into a wall, where Gladiator would hold Thanos in place by grabbing him by his neck, restraining his movements, and he would proceed to laser Thanos' face using his eyes. Thanos would scream in pain as he would punch Gladiator off of him. But Quasar would sock Thanos across the face, leading into a combo where Beta Ray Bill would also hit Thanos, and both Quasar and Beta Ray Bill would be hitting Thanos with a flurry of combos. Thanos would be unable to protect himself as he tries to use his Gauntlet, but Quasar would capitalize on that, and he would tell Beta Ray Bill, "Don't let him close his fist." Beta Ray Bill would know the assignment as he would smack Thanos with Stormbreaker and also impale him in the leg using the axe. And Quasar would use his energy to blast Thanos across the ground, sending him sliding a dozen miles. Corvus Glaive, Proxima Midnight, and Supergiant would try to defend their master, but they are easily dealt with by Silver Surfer, who blasts a hole through Corvus Glaive's chest, killing him. Proxima Midnight would be enraged and would motion to attack the Surfer. That would be until she is decapitated by Beta Ray Bill. And now, Supergiant is the lone surviving member of the Black Order, as she starts to use her powers before being blasted through the forehead by Gladiator's laser eyes, dropping her to the ground, killing her instantly. Quasar would give a half smile. Well, you all could have saved one for me at least. Gladiator would smirk. Well, you're simply too slow. Silver Surfer would tell them, "Focus, Annihilators. He's getting up," as Thanos would start to approach his attackers. Silver Surfer would tell him, "You can stop this madness, Thanos. Just relinquish the Infinity Gauntlet and we won't attack you any longer." "The only way I'm taking this Infinity Gauntlet off is if you pry it off my dead corpse," Gladiator would yell. "That could be arranged," as he would blast Thanos, but Thanos would block it using his gauntlet. Quasar, Silver Surfer, and Beta Ray Bill would also follow through, blasting Thanos with each of their attacks, which would push Thanos back, pushing him to his absolute limit as his knees would begin to buckle, and the wound he sustained from Beta Ray Bill wasn't helping either, as he would simply begin starting to kneel in front of his attackers, unable to withstand their overwhelming power, as Gladiator would smirk, knowing that they have Thanos right where they want him, as each of them would still proceed to blast at Thanos, attempting to disintegrate him for good. And unbeknownst to anyone, we would see Mephisto staring on the battle on a cliffside, watching as Thanos begins to struggle. As Mephisto would smirk and hold his hands up to his face, sighing, "What would you be without me, Thanos?" as he would snap his fingers. And as if on cue, corpses would begin to arise from the ground and attack the Annihilators. And of course, it would be no trouble for the Annihilators, but the number of corpses would simply be too many as they begin to swarm the team, allowing Thanos enough time to regain his footing. And he would look at the Annihilators still fighting the everlasting corpses with a grimace. "So, you wish to challenge the Mad Titan?" As Thanos would start to give a crazed smile as he would lift up his gauntlet. And as he did with the Avengers before, he would summon a nearby planet, clenching his fist and look back at the Annihilators before swiping his hand. But before that could happen, each of the Annihilators would disregard the corpses that were attacking them, and they would divert their full attention towards the Infinity Gauntlet. And with their full power, they will unleash an ultimate beam of energy, firing at the Gauntlet. Thanos would retaliate by firing back at them using the full might of the Infinity Stones, and it would be an ultimate clash that would be until the planet itself would collide with the one that Thanos pulled using the Infinity Gauntlet, and what would result is an explosion of cataclysmic events, as it would be a shockwave that would be heard, as well as a flash that would be seen for miles. And once the dust settles, we would see the Annihilators floating in space, gravely injured, but still alive, as Gladiator would ask if they managed to kill Thanos once and for all. Silver Surfer would be unsure, but looking around, he doesn't seem to see Thanos anywhere, so he might as well consider this a job well done. As Silver Surfer, Gladiator, Beta Ray Bill, and Quasar would weakly fly away from the destroyed site, but in the distance, we would see an injured Thanos floating in space with a notable stump on his arm where the Infinity Gauntlet used to be, and it would be revealed that Thanos' arm has been severed because of the explosion, as well as all those concentrated beams of energy firing at his right hand, destroying not only the Gauntlet, but the Infinity Stones as well, as we would see Mephisto grab Thanos and teleport away in a blaze of inferno. Back with the Avengers, we would see Captain America, Iron Man, and Wasp sweeping past Avengers Tower, and this scene would play out relatively the same as it did in the original Endgame scene, with the Avengers concluding their battle with Loki and Wasp attempting to shrink down and retrieve the Space Stone. That would be until she is confronted by none other than Ant-Man, who assumes her to be Loki in disguise and that he somehow managed to escape. And this scene will essentially be a replacement for the Captain America fight scene that we had in the original movie. So Ant-Man would be attacking Wasp, thinking that she is Loki. And Wasp would hold back, of course, and this would also be very emotional for her, as her Hank died in the hands of Thanos. And she can't really tell Hank who she is, since that'll be meddling with the fabrics of time. So with a swift motion, she manages to knock Hank out, but not before telling him that she loves him, and she would make off with the Space Stone. But before she could get it to her teammates, a nearby door would slam on her face, causing her to drop the Space Stone and crash into a wall. This would be the cause of Hulk not wanting to take the stairs. This would allow 2012 Loki to sneakily take the Space Stone and teleport away. And because of this, the trio would be forced to go back in time even further into the depths of World War II, where Tony would still meet Howard Stark and they would have that sentimental moment. Except Tony doesn't have a daughter, since not that much time has passed ever since the Avengers first fought Thanos. And Steve would also catch a glimpse at Peggy, reminiscing of the time that would never be. And ultimately, the pursuit of the Space Stone would be a success. We would then later cut back to Spider-Man, Blade, and Doctor Doom, who are currently on the pursuit for the Time Stone, which would lead them into the entrance of the Sanctum Sanctorum, where Doctor Doom would fly up into the roof, confronting the Ancient One, who has been expecting them. Doctor Doom would scoff, not wanting to play any games, and he would try to snatch the Time Stone out of the Ancient One's neck. The Ancient One would slap Doctor Doom's hand away, and she would use a brisk sense of motions before palming his chest, sending the astral form of Doom flying. Spider-Man would also take Blade and swing up to the roof to confront the Ancient One, before pleading with her to let them have the Time Stone for just a minute in order to save their world, as well as bring back everyone who were killed by Thanos. The Ancient One, seeing Spider-Man's determination, would reluctantly hand over the Time Stone, but not before putting Doctor Doom back into his physical body, much to the displeasure of Doom, who motions to try and kill the Ancient One for this insolence. But the Ancient One would then summon a portal, which would send all three of them hurtling into the streets of New York, where they would land with a hard crash. But now they have the Time Stone in their possession, which ultimately meant that their mission was a success. Back with Adam Warlock and Rocket Raccoon, they would be watching as Peter Quill would manage to escape the wrath of Korath. And as Peter Quill thinks that he has made it home free, he would be swiftly knocked out by Adam Warlock, in which both him and Rocket Raccoon would take the orb and claim their mission as a success. We would cut to Vision and Nebula, while Vision would be carrying Nebula throughout the sky as he would be flying, observing the battle that Captain America is currently having with Ultron. But surprisingly, two of the members of the Masters of Evil will be helping Captain America try and take down Ultron. This would be Ghost and Absorbing Man, who sees through Ultron's plan and knows that if they follow through, then they will die as well. This would lead into Ultron lashing out at both of them for their betrayal. And while everyone is distracted, Vision and Nebula would make a motion to try and nab the original body of Vision in order to get the Mind Stone. That would be until they are smacked down into a building by the Abomination, who sees them hovering in the sky. Both of them would be dazed, but Vision would recover rather quickly, and he would stand his ground against the hulking beast. Abomination would look at Vision, remarking, "I don't think I recognize you two as Avengers. What are you, some new recruits?" Vision and Nebula would stay silent. "Oh well, it doesn't matter to me because I'm going to kill you regardless." Vision would look past Abomination, noticing that the truck is getting away, so with a brisk motion, he would aim towards Abomination, punching him in the chest, which would send Abomination flying towards a building. And before Vision can make a motion to follow the truck, he is stopped by Scourge, Enchantress, and Crimson Dynamo. Nebula would say, "I don't have time to deal with these clowns, and the truck is getting away," so she would extend her robotic hand, aiming an electric pulse at the both of them, which would disable Crimson Dynamo's armor as well as stun the Asgardians to knock them out of the way as he would dart towards the truck. And he would open the container, revealing his cradle, which harbors both his body and the Mind Stone, and he would grab it and proceed to make a motion to fly upwards. But he would then proceed to dodge a laser as he would look back to see none other than his creator, Ultron, who wasn't sure who this new figure was at first, but with a closer inspection, he realizes who it is, and this would be the first of a few times where the robot would actually show some signs of emotion. My Vision, how is this possible?" Vision would look sympathetically as his creator, as even as much as he wants to, he knows that Ultron will never be able to change. But he already knows that he's already altered this timeline too much as it is by interacting with those from the past, and so, with a regretful look, he swiftly punches Ultron into the concrete, creating a crater before he would take the cradle as well as Nebula and fly out of the distance, leaving the Avengers, the Masters of Evil, as well as Ultron in shock, as they would all just be pondering, what the hell just happened? We would cut to the trio of Wolverine, Thor, and Namor as they manage to traverse through the home of the Dark Elves. Before they're surrounded by the Dark Elves themselves, who labels them as intruders. Namor would motion to attack, but Thor would hold his hands out, telling him to wait, as the Dark Elves will escort them to their king, Malekith. Thor Odin's son, you dare come to my home and intrude on my palace, and what's even worse is that you brought this lot along with you. Give me one reason why I shouldn't kill you where you stand right now. Thor would look at Malekith. Simple. You have something that we want, and we won't leave until we get it. Enlighten me, Asgardian. What are you here for? It is to my knowledge that you possess an Infinity Stone, Malekith, through the murmurs I've heard among my people. So I request that you hand over this stone, and I shall return it in one piece. Malekith would laugh. You must think me a fool, Asgardian, if you think I shall hand you the most powerful artifact in my world. Kill him. Malekith would tell his guards as the Dark Elves would be ready to attack, as both the trio of Namor, Wolverine, and Thor would begin to defend themselves. And they appeared to be doing a good job. That would be until the ruffian known as Curse would barge his way through the onslaught and attack Thor, which would result in a battle between both the Behemoth and the God of Thunder, while Wolverine and Namor proceed to fight each of the Dark Elves. But Thor in this version would put up much more of a fight than he would have in Thor 2, simply because of the power increase that he has gained throughout each movie. And with one mighty swing of Mjolnir, he manages to decapitate the behemoth known as Curse as he would look towards Malekith. This is your last chance, Malekith. Relinquish the stone. Malekith would begin to rise from his throne and look at Thor. You want the stone? Come and fight me for it, as both Thor and Malekith would clash in an epic battle. Malekith would put up a good fight, but the God of Thunder would simply be too mighty, as he would proceed to beat down Malekith, but not kill him. And as Malekith lies there, bloodied and battered, he looked towards his people, seeing their Dark Elves being decimated by Wolverine and Namor, before he finally announces that he surrenders, and he tells Thor the location of the Reality Stone, in which Thor would quickly find it, and both Thor, Namor, and Wolverine would escape from Malekith's castle, marking their mission as a success. And now we cut to Human Torch and Invisible Woman, who are traversing through the domain of Vormir, in which they encounter Mistress Death, who tells them that in order to get the Soul Stone, they must exchange one soul. Human Torch and Invisible Woman would look at each other, and Johnny would offer himself up to be the one to die. Sue would vehemently disagree, but Johnny would hold her hand, telling her that Sue can't be the one to jump off the cliff because she has a family to get to. But Johnny, he's been nothing but a ladies' man his entire life. Johnny would look into Susan's eyes, and he would say, please, let me be the responsible one for a change. And both of the siblings would lean their foreheads against each other, knowing that this will be their last interaction. And so, with a brave heart, Johnny would march up towards the edge of the cliff, and he would give his sister one last look before opening his arms wide, igniting himself in a burst of flames, and his final words will be, flame on, as he would start to descend down into the ground before landing with a hard crack. The rest would be black, as Susan Storm would suddenly wake up, now with the Soul Stone in her possession, as she would look on at the endless abyss, mourning over the death of her brother. The heroes would return back to the present time, now with each of the Infinity Stones in hand, but Spider-Man would notice that Invisible Woman came alone as he would ask her where Johnny is. Invisible Woman would look at Spider-Man with a sad expression, and he would know instantly of what it meant as he would punch the ground in anger. before Invisible Woman would come up to him and both of them would embrace in a hug, sharing their loss. The rest of the heroes would mourn as well, noting Johnny's sacrifice, as this would provide further reinforcement that their idea needs to work. And so, the next debate would be who would be the one to wield the Infinity Gauntlet that Iron Man made in order to hold the Infinity Stones in place. Thor would offer himself, but Doom would surprisingly be the one who adamantly denies this, as he feels that he should be the one to wield the Infinity Gauntlet. And so, with no further argument, the gauntlet lies in the hands of Doom, who marvels at the power for a brief second, and the heroes would start to get defensive as they would be prepared to attack, as they are unsure of what Doom's next move would be. The power of a god in my fingertips. Doom would look towards the heroes, who he notices look anxious. You all chose wisely. If that is anyone who shall save the world, that person shall be Doom. We would cut to space. We would see Thanos starting to wake up from his injuries as he notices that his arm has been fully healed by Mephisto, but he is still lacking the Infinity Gauntlet as well as the Infinity Stones, as he would look towards Mephisto, who is currently tending to him. The power of the Infinity Stones lost. Now, don't fret it, big guy. You're lucky to be alive, to be honest. Thanos would look menacingly at Mephisto. Don't patronize me, demon. I wielded the power of a god. Now, that power is lost. But before Thanos could lament even further, he suddenly gets an incoming call from one of his scanners as he opens it up to see none other than his daughter, Nebula, who informs Thanos that she is on Earth right now and that the Earthlings have a spare Infinity Gauntlet that they used from traveling throughout time. Thanos would look at his daughter with glee, and he would tell her that he would be on Earth in a matter of minutes. Call would end, and as he would look onto Mephisto, he would say, "Prepare my army, demon. I have one more stop to make." We would cut back to Nebula as she would look on to the heroes who are currently waiting in anticipation to see if the snap had worked. By the way, I'm planning on making Nebula much more evil in this version, so she won't really have that redemption arc that she had in the original MCU. The heroes would wait with bated breath. That would be until a TV would randomly turn on, revealing a breaking news broadcast, and it would show that people are suddenly reappearing. And a wave of enormous relief would dawn upon everyone as they realized that they have now saved their loved ones as well as everyone on Earth. But this moment would be short-lived as a missile would come barreling towards the Avengers compound as it would explode in a mighty inferno as Thanos' ship would be hovering above the area as he would send another missile towards the headquarters, which would cause another explosion, scattering each of the heroes, sending them flying into different directions, and the building would crumble under the weight of the explosions. And Thanos himself would come down onto the surface, demanding that the Avengers give him the Infinity Gauntlet. And the ones who would step out of the wreckage would be Dr. Doom, Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America, who each of them would proceed to have an ultimate clash with Thanos. And the heroes would put up a brave resilience, but Thanos' might would simply be too overpowering as he would grab Captain America and throw him towards the direction of Thor, crashing them both into each other, causing them to slide across the ground. Iron Man, with his new nanotech armor, would try to attack Thanos, but the Mad Titan would simply power through his beams and palm Iron Man's head before crashing him into the ground, and he would turn to the direction of Dr. Doom and Doom, not one to back down from a fight, would confront the Mad Titan, resulting in an ultimate clash, in which would result in having Doom's full power and knowledge of both magic and science to help assist him in battling this behemoth. But Thanos would simply punch Doom away into a destroyed wall. Thor would summon the power of lightning and rocket towards Thanos, causing both of their foreheads to collide with each other, as Thor would begin to battle with the Mad Titan once more. And since Thanos isn't fully powered by the Infinity Gauntlet, Thor stands much better of a chance, as he would begin to overpower Thanos on his own. But a large fireball would be blasted at Thor, sending him flying, and Thanos would turn to see Mephisto in his aid, and Mephisto would hand Thanos the same weapon that he had in the final battle with Endgame. And now, with the tide's turn, both Thanos and Mephisto would turn their attention towards the heroes that are confronting them. And Doom would recognize Mephisto, as Mephisto would snarl at Doom, still salty about their last battle. And Thanos would begin to power through the Earth's forces. And we would see throughout the wreckage Nebula holding the Infinity Gauntlet, trying to make her way towards Thanos. That would be until she is abruptly stabbed in the back by Wolverine, causing her to drop the Nano Gauntlet, and Wolverine would pick it up before spitting at Nebula, remarking how he always felt that there was something off about her, but now he is certain. And as Wolverine would manage his way through the wreckage, he would be spotted by Thanos, who makes a beeline towards him, and he was about to reach Wolverine, but an invisible force would stop him, and he would turn around to see the Invisible Woman with visible daggers in her eyes as she would stare down at Thanos. "You took everything from me. I don't even know who you are. You will." And as she says that, she creates a force around Thanos, causing his body to be damaged from the inside. And as Thanos would try to prevent himself from imploding, Invisible Woman would apply more force. This time, it would actually hurt Thanos, as he would scream in pain, yelling at Mephisto to unleash his Outrider army, which Mephisto does so with a snap of his fingers. And as addition to that, he would also summon the corpses that he did before as well, causing them to attack the heroes, leaving a momentary distraction for Invisible Woman to release her grip, letting Thanos punch her across the face, breaking several teeth, and causing her to crash into a distorted section of the building. And as Thanos begins to draw his weapon in an attempt to kill her, he is then stopped when a massive trident would clash with his own weapon, and Namor would be in a defensive position in front of Invisible Woman, as his weapon and Thanos's would clash, but Thanos's might would simply be too great, as it would simply smash Namor away, causing him to bounce off the ground in the opposite direction. But all of a sudden, a web would encapsulate Thanos' face, and as he is distracted, Blade would come in and swing his sword throughout most of Thanos' vulnerable spots, but they do nothing as they simply bounce off the Titan's armor as well as his skin. Thanos would rip off the webbing and uppercut Blade, sending him flying into a wall, while Spider-Man would come swing down, and using the tendrils from the Iron Spider armor, he would attempt to try and attack Thanos, but Thanos would simply grab him by the neck and slam him down into the ground, and he would be about to squash Spider-Man using his foot. But he would be blasted in the face by Adam Warlock, who rockets towards Thanos and tries to grapple him, but Thanos would simply grab him by the cape and slam him down onto the ground multiple times before throwing him in the direction of Rocket Raccoon, who he sees flying nearby, and Adam Warlock would crash into the poor rodent, causing both of them to descend back into the ground and landing with a hard crash. Vision would appear behind Thanos, attempting to phase through him to try and disrupt his central nervous system, but Thanos would see this and attempt to punch Vision, but his fist would simply phase through the android as it would phase through Thanos' body, which would cause Thanos to have a gag reflex as he would vomit all over the ground. This would temporarily stun Thanos, allowing Vision to land a punch right in the Titan's cheek. Mephisto would see this and he would order his undead army to try and distract Vision, as he sees him as the major problem since Thanos can't physically hit him. And also in the same motion, he manages to entrap Wolverine in a binding of bones, still holding the Nano Gauntlet. He summons his binding to approach Thanos, causing Wolverine to also be levitated as well, as he would meet the Mad Titan face to face, as Thanos would grin at Wolverine before snatching the Infinity Gauntlet off him, and he would send Wolverine flying with a massive punch to his chest. Thanos would take this moment to taunt the heroes, but before he could get a single word out, a mysterious blast would aim at his hand, causing him to drop the Nano Gauntlet, and it would disappear in a portal before it appeared at the hand of Doctor Strange. And as the heroes and Thanos look up, Captain America would get a call on his earcom, with Falcon saying, "On your left." And as if on cue, a massive portals would open, revealing a ginormous army of heroes, Asgardians, Atlanteans, and many others, such as Black Panther emerging with his army of Wakandans. Even the Annihilators that Thanos fought earlier as well, but they're severely weakened due to the earlier fight they had with the Mad Titan. And both of the armies would be at a standstill, with Thanos in front of his Outrider army as well as Mephisto's undead army, while Captain America stands in front of the heroes as well as the many others who has joined them in their cause. And with two simple words, Captain America would utter, "Avengers, assemble." And this would ignite a battle cry as the opposing sides would charge at each other, creating a massive shockwave, which would result in most of the fighters to be flung back, but it would still be a war for the ages, as we would also see many villains helping as well, such as Magneto, the Brotherhood of Mutants, and Sentry, as we would see him gliding across the battlefield, making a beeline towards Thanos, as him and the Mad Titan would clash, creating a massive shockwave, sending everyone surrounding them flying. Sentry would put up a brave resilience, but he is then later beat down by the Mad Titan and overwhelmed by his strength. And as Thanos would grab Sentry by the hair, he would yell that he is the strongest being in the universe and that no one could match up to his strength. But as if on cue, a large figure would smash onto the ground behind Thanos, causing him to loosen his grip on Sentry, and he would turn around to be face to face with the Hulk. Are you sure about that? And as the Hulk says this, his fist would crash in Thanos' face, causing him to go flying, and Hulk would follow through with this onslaught as Thanos would begin to battle with the Jolly Green Giants. Meanwhile, we would see Invisible Woman defending herself against hordes of Outriders that would be until a stretchy hand would smack a couple Outriders about to sneak attack her, and she would turn around to see the face of her husband, Reed Richards, and the two would embrace in a hug that was long overdue. And as Sue would cry in her husband's chest, we would see Namor in the distance with a stink look on his face. But as he motions to approach the couple, a rocky hand would grab him by the shoulder, and he would turn around to see the Thing. "What are you looking at, fish face?" And as Namor would be about to respond, the Thing would grab him by the back of the neck and would proceed to launch him through a horde of Outrider army, causing him to crash into some of them. And his face would be sliding across the ground, and we would see Doctor Strange tossing the Infinity Gauntlet at Spider-Man, who proceeds to swing away and attempt to get away from Thanos and its clutches that would be until a flaming chain would grab his ankle and we see to yank him, causing him to land on the back seat of a motorcycle, where he would be confronted by the flaming head of Ghost Rider. Spider-Man would of course make a quick quip about this, that would be until Ghost Rider would drive him around to the horde of the Outrider army, avoiding those who would try and snatch the Nano Gauntlet. Wong would then ask Doctor Strange why he didn't just portal the Nano Gauntlet away using his powers, but Doctor Strange would look at Wong with a knowing look, saying that this was the only way they could win this war. And as Ghost Rider and Spider-Man are riding around the hordes of Outriders, Mephisto would see this, and he would create a massive fireball and aim it at Ghost Rider's direction, which would cause the motorcycle to He flipped upwards, causing Spider-Man to go flying as he would hold the nano gauntlet closely to his chest as he would swing away trying to avoid the hordes of Outriders that were targeting him. Until Captain America would fly in with Mjolnir in tow, smashing each Outrider. Whilst Cloak would grab Spider-Man's shoulder and teleport away from the battlefield, and this would be happening for a while, as Dagger would also help in backing off any Outriders trying to reach the Gauntlet. But an Outrider would catch Cloak off guard by slashing his ankle, causing him to fall to one knee. Dagger would try to help Cloak up as Spider-Man would begin to web his wounds. Meanwhile, we would see Thanos still engaged with his fight with the Hulk, and as he throws Hulk up into the air, the Hulk would be airborne before he would descend back down into the ground, and as Thanos would be preparing his weapon to try and slash the Hulk mid-air, he would be distracted when the Wasp would fly behind Hulk as she would use her stingers to blast Thanos in the eyes, causing him to be distracted and not be able to aim properly. The Hulk would look beside the Wasp and ask her, "Why are you helping me after everything I've done?" "Look, you're still not off the hook, but for right now, we need you. And besides, this guy's the bigger problem, so just go kick his ass." The Hulk would smile like this as he would look back at Thanos and crash onto him, creating a massive crater. But Thanos would then command his ship to fire more missiles, which it would, as the missiles would impact each faction of the heroes as well as the army. But we'd start to see the ship start to descend as explosions would
Get the
happen
Bible.
inside of it. But we would know that Captain Marvel would be the cause, as she would fly into the ship several times, causing it to descend into the ground, creating a massive explosion, killing massive amounts of the Outrider army, as Thanos would look on in horror and shock as the Hulk would continue to beat down on him. This war would be in a massive scope, as we would see all around the heroes beginning to overwhelm the Outrider army. We would also see the Guardians participating in this battle as well. We would see Peter Quill, Rocket Raccoon, Groot, Adam Warlock, Mantis, Drax, and the guy that replaced Yondu attacking the Outriders as well. We would also see the full might of the X-Men giving it their all. We would also see some unexpected faces in the battlefield as well, such as the full roster of the X-Force, as well as Squirrel Girl, who commands her army of squirrels to attack as many Outriders as they can, as she would direct her attention towards Thanos as he manages to smack Hulk away, releasing him from the onslaught, and as Thanos would notice her, she would start to approach him. "You're about to receive a major beating, Thanos, Squirrel Girl style." As the girl would be in an elaborate pose, Thanos would be unamused, as he would simply throw his weapon at the girl, but Squirrel Girl would be surprisingly agile as she would block the weapon and dart towards Thanos, using her claws to scratch his face, which would do nothing as Thanos would simply lift her by the hair. But before he could do anything, a massive army of squirrels would attack him, causing him to let go of Squirrel Girl, who would swiftly be carried by Iron Man in an attempt to get her away from Thanos before he would drop her onto the ground, and she would continue to battle amongst the Outriders. And as Iron Man would turn to Doctor Strange, he would see him making an elaborate gesture with his hand. And Iron Man would know what this means, as he would see Thanos start to overpower the squirrels, and as he would look, he would see that the Infinity Gauntlet is now unguarded thanks to the massive hordes of Outriders that would swarming Spider-Man, and would proceed to grab it before Iron Man would grab Thanos by the hand, attempting to yank the gauntlet off of his clutches, but Thanos would simply punch Iron Man away, sending him sliding through the ground. And as he would lament, he would simply say, "I must admit that you lot actually gave me a bit of trouble, but now all of your efforts shall be in vain." Thanos would lift up his hand. "All of your efforts shall be for nothing, for you could not escape me nor my wrath, for I am inevitable."
Well,
Nothing happens, and as Thanos would stare at his gauntlet, he realizes that there are no Infinity Stones being harbored inside, and with a shocked expression, he would turn back towards Iron Man, who now has a fully decked out nano gauntlet in his arm, and as he would look towards Thanos, he would simply utter the words, "And I am Iron Man." The Outrider army would begin to corrode into dust, as we would see many heroes as well as the soldiers beginning to celebrate. Meanwhile, we would see Mephisto looking around, seeing that the heroes have won, and he would quickly dissolve in a blaze of inferno, avoiding their wrath. And we would see Thanos start to look around as his army would be decimated, and with a defeated look, he sits down on the ground, contemplating his loss and ready to be corroded into dust along with his army. That would be until a hand would stretch out and pierce his back,
Wow.
exiting through his chest, and he would look back to see Drax the Destroyer. "With this act, my family is avenged." Thanos would get away from the man as he would start to bend down on one knee or clutching his chest, and he would begin to cough out blood before he would then later collapse onto the ground, and then he would later corrode into dust. We would cut back to Iron Man, severely damaged because of the Infinity Stones, and since he neither possesses the properties of Doctor Doom's mystical armor as well as Thanos' natural durability, he is unable to withstand the power of the Infinity Stones, and he ultimately lies down on the ground, dead, surrounded by his loved ones. Later on, the heroes would propose a funeral in which everyone would attend, meaning the Avengers, the street-level heroes, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, the Guardians, and many others, and it would be a national event. A couple of months would pass, and we would see that the Hulk has been exonerated from his past crimes due to the part he played in stopping Thanos, as well as avoiding a worldwide invasion. And so, he is pardoned from his crimes and welcomed back into the team. We would also cut to Nick Fury, who announces his retirement, saying how he was one of the reasons why Thanos managed to get all of the Infinity Stones in the first place, as he didn't guard the Space Stone well enough, which eventually led to the deaths of millions. We would then also cut to the X-Men spending quality time at the amusement park. The screen would then shift to the Baxter building, where we would see Sue Storm and Reed Richards attending to their newborn baby, who is happily giggling while playing with a Spider-Man action figure. We would also see the Thing playing cards with Herbie, and the family would notably be mourning the loss of Johnny Storm, which is why they have erected a statue in Johnny Storm's honor in the front lobby of the Baxter building. We would then also cut to Spider-Man, who would be seen swinging around New York and catching a glimpse at a mysterious figure who appears to be stopping some robbers. This figure would turn out to be Miles Morales, as he is in his homemade costume, catching a bunch of bank robbers, but that would be until a stray warp would catch one of the robbers off guard and stuck him to a wall. Miles would turn back to see the real Spider-Man, now donned in an all-new suit, and as Miles would begin to approach him, Peter would ultimately know that this would be the start of a brand new journey for him, mentorship. We would then cut to Latveria, where we would see Dr. Doom sitting on his throne, pondering, and as a Doombot would approach him, it would ask what seems to be troubling its master. Doom would respond, "I held the power of a god for mere moments, and yet in that instant, I felt it to be beneath me. But nevertheless, I must strive for a new goal. I must attain that power once more, by any means necessary." And that would be the conclusion of Phase 6. And thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it this
So that's it, some doers of MCU and the Gauntlet Saga done. Yeah, so yeah. So could you enjoy the video mentioned and don't go in to subscribe, and we see we got his face that they Gauntlet Saga. So Vince got X-Men apart big. The Miss Spider-Man sense. The Thunderbolt, Deadpool 2, Transition in the Legend of the Ten Rings, Torch Raiders, Blade Avenger, Hercules, Rise of the God, Cause we're not sure 42 or 43, but it's 43 this way. And we got Fantastic Four and the Rise of the Marvel and Infinity Gauntlet Part 1 and Blade 2 and then Marvel Infinity Gauntlet Part 2. And we got a TV show like Squirrel Girl, Moon Knight Season 1 and Crocodile Season 1 and Hero for Hire Season 3 and the total. So yeah, so that's some do in the MCU Infinity Gauntlet Saga done. Yeah, but I can't wait to hear the Saga coming soon, but hopefully we'll be come back like probably in a few weeks or next month, but here that Saga will be called the Secret War Saga. So yes, I will do a reaction video for that, but it will be in like a couple months away from here. Yeah, so hope you enjoy the video and thumbs up and then subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye.